welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Welcome to Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast. This is Jessica. I am your host, and I am here with the author of a book called Barely Even Friends. And if that title sounds familiar, it should, because growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, Beauty and the Beast was by far one of our favorite Disney movies, and so many versions of the Beauty and the Beast song was constantly circulating on the radio. So yeah, this is like a modern alternate universe retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And it was really just fun the way that you sort of worked everything in. And I should say it's a Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
I would
Yeah.
say loosely Disney, but also probably just I think the greater fairy tale too. But yes, there are definitely nods. I'm a big fan of the Disney movie, but I think just overall and kind of fairy tale nods. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And there were a few other little Easter eggs in there as well. But it was super fun. And yeah, please tell us about first of all, man, introduce yourself and then tell us about Barely Even Friends and where it all came from.
Sure. So I'm Mae Bennett. I'm the author of Barely Even Friends. It's actually my debut romance. So I am a author. That's still a weird thing for me to say. I am a voracious romance reader. I enjoy talking about other people's romance books. So talking about my own is still something I'm very much getting used to. But I wrote Barely Even Friends, which is a modern Beauty and the Beast retelling featuring a plus size female main character, which means a lot to me as someone who has been plus size my entire life. So it's something that really excites me to be part of the romance bookshelf, which already has so many plus size voices, and to be part of that. So I'm excited to have my book on the shelf with so many other romance classics.
So, first of all, where did the first seed of this particular story come from? One of the reasons I'd said before, there's, particularly Disney's Beauty and the Beast is the main character's name is Bellamy, or Belle, and we have her father's car, Philippe, which was a Mustang, which I thought super, super clever. Some of the reworkings and some of the ways that you sort of wove some of that into the story. But there is more, and even without the fairy tale nods, it is just a really cute story and a really sweet enemies to lovers type of contemporary romance. So at what point were you like, this is the story I want to tell, and this is sort of how it's going to grow around the fairy tale and become its own thing?
Yeah, so I started writing it when I was actually querying another book. So for me, it was almost written as a distraction at first to kind of take my mind off of something else. But I, just as you, I think grew up as a big fan of Beauty and the Beast, but also in just fairy tales in general, but didn't see a lot of plus size characters. So for me, I just wanted to, I think, really touch on those kind of fairy tale cornerstones, but also see them in a modern setting. So I loved the story, but knew, especially in a modern setting, I was not going to have a kidnapping scene to start off the relationship, even though it is contentious. There's no kidnapping, spoiler alert. Um, but I I think it just kind of at least clicked for me at first of kind of that relationship, because I think at least initially I was also debating, do I want to, do kind of a gender twist on the story too? But for me, and I think I have read other gender twists, so this is not a knock on them because I think they do them beautifully. But one of the things that stands out for me in Beauty and the Beast is she saves him. So I really wanted to make sure that that was a something I still hit on in a story writing with both a female and a male main characters, is that she in a lot of ways is the hero of both of their stories and kind of comes back and saves both of them. So that was a huge thing for me. So I think I always at least loosely knew I was going to be some sort of level of retelling. Once I had the inspiration for the story, that was kind of one of the first inspiration points. So it's hard to say there was one kind of click point for me, but I think for me it was also just what felt true to me for their story and what was obviously the things that were going to shift. Succession was a huge inspiration point too for me, of just like his background and his family story. And obviously it didn't completely all work. There's no magic in my story or different aspects like that. So I think I think it was a great inspiration point, and then just kind of the different twists and turns of what worked and what just is really their own unique story.
So you do, you do kind of deal with a lot of topics that are, I suppose, pretty introspective in this. For Bellamy, obviously, you'd mentioned she's a plus size woman. She's also a woman in a field that is generally male dominated.
Yes.
Do you want to just chat a little bit about how, because there is no kidnapping and there is no Stockholm syndrome
No.
in this.
I mean,
Do you, yeah,
arguably they've created it themselves by being too stubborn to leave, but yes.
for
They
sure. That's a completely different situation
yeah.
altogether. But
Yeah.
do you want to chat a little bit about the Killington estate and sort of how
Yeah.
Belle and the Beast get together? Because I think that was a really unique way to set up their relationship.
Yeah. No, I think when I was figuring out even just right how I, writing a modern retelling, obviously need a modern setting and also just kind of what were there going to be their backgrounds. So for me, I am also someone who just is in what is typically being an attorney in a what is most often male dominated workplaces, something I could relate to. Um, and so I really wanted that aspect of it to speak to her personality of just walking into rooms, or even her relationship with her father. She deeply respects her father, but he also just experiences things and has a level of respect that she's still trying to earn and struggles with, additionally because she is a woman and a plus size woman. So for me, I just really wanted to kind of shine a light on that, because it is, I definitely think that this book is much more of a character driven story than necessarily as driven. There are obviously external beats to it, but to me that is kind of the more uh pinch points to the story, is kind of, uh, Oliver the Beast kind of experience he has and trying to come back to the world, and dealing with the restoration of his family home, and then Bellamy dealing with all of this pressure that she is kind of her entire, family legacy weighing on her, but also just this project to experience. So it was something that I really enjoyed because I related to, but it also at times, it's hard to write something that is also something I've experienced, of just, people looking at you differently or not thinking as much of you just because of just aspects of yourself that are just who you are, your weight, your gender. And so it's just, that there's these additional things she almost has to prove that despite of she can succeed, was something I was really proud of, because she is very confident in who she is in her body, but also recognizes that society and different people that she experiences throughout the book do see her in a certain way.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's sort of added to the fact that, yeah, it has certain beats and, callbacks to Beauty and the Beast, but it was very much its own story as well. And another thing that I thought was really just well placed and well written was just Oliver in general, his grief and his guilt that sort of made him beastly in the way. I don't want to get into too much why he, like more of his background because I thought it was really cute, like why he's the beast. But
Yeah.
just sort of what made him how he was in the beginning of the story, as somebody who has experienced some very heavy loss myself in a short period of time. It was just very well done and well written, and it felt very true to how I believe one would be having experienced what he experienced himself.
Yeah, thank you. I he's a character who he meant a lot to me, even though I did not write his point of view. I very much also just related to his point of view for a lot of different reasons that I think I wanted his point of view, whether you could relate to the different parts of his background or not, that just um struggling with the world or just kind of overcoming things and just kind of that shift. So he was a difficult character to write also because this is a single point of view romance, so really having that kind of come across where it's not too obvious, especially in the beginning, but also really trying to make him be a distinct character because we're not in his point of view. But he's quieter at first, but also, even just kind of getting the grumpy part and understanding why he's grumpy and making him understandable, or why he snaps at her right away or things like that. Like I think it was made writing him a lot of fun and kind of their banter back and forth, but also kind of understanding where he's coming from, where she clearly doesn't. So she's just sitting there going, "You are a jerk. You are she says a lot of not nice names about him, and understandably, because she just doesn't know. And then I think learning more about him and just giving him empathy that he struggles to give himself. They both, I think, see each other in different ways and lean on each other for different things, where they're both people who struggle with being vulnerable and kind of are oh, I don't know if I'd say forced to, but I think that that's a point for both of them is they have these moments where just without intending to, they're vulnerable in front of each other. So I Bellamy has a very special place in my heart, but I really enjoyed just writing him and getting to write his happily ever after too. So
Yeah, I think so. I think that it really did come across his whole characterization, regardless whether or not his POV was there. Uh, and it's kind of seeing him through Bellamy's eyes. And yeah, she does say some not so nice things to him. But like Belle is pretty sort of forceful with the beast as well. I think that that was like one of the reasons why so many of us really liked that version of Beauty and the Beast, why it really did stick around. Because I mean, obviously, Bellamy is doing a job that we discussed, is not generally what young women are supposed to be doing. And in Beauty and the Beast, Disney's Beauty and the Beast, Belle is a bookworm, and you know, that's not what women are supposed to be doing, according to Gaston, at least. Not supposed to be reading and filling their
yeah,
heads with all of this junk. But she is in like this impossible situation where she is like kidnapped basically by this beast, and she
yeah,
does tell him what's what. And I think that there was something that a lot of us were sort of craving, having watched when they redistributed like Cinderella in the movie
yep,
theaters, and we went and we saw it with our parents, and we're just like, oh, come on,
yeah, yeah. She's not a
fight
wallflower.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think I'll be honest. I think that that's almost the hallmark of any Beauty and the Beast retelling. I actually someone on Twitter the other day put up it. There's a French retelling of Beauty and the Beast that was on, so I had to watch it because obviously I don't think this is surprising. I'm obsessed with Beauty and the Beast. And I watched it, and the dubbing was interesting in English, but it just was so funny to watch. But I think that that's just, you know, I people. It's so easy to look at Beauty and the Beast and just see that she goes to the castle or however the setup is, and she's kind of there, but she fights back. She's sacrificing herself for some reason or whatever the setup is, and she's there. So that was, I think, one of the important parts, is because it's usually some sort of grumpy sunshine relationship, and I like that there is that pushback, right? Because I think, especially for Oliver in this book, he has so many yes people who have cared for him for, again, for, I don't want to give too spoilers away, but just like the reasons for his back, like why he is the way he is, especially at the beginning of the book. But she also needs to push back to kind of create what ends up happening with his character. So that was a lot of fun to just write of their pushback, and that, immediately, you know, she could be scared, but also she's just like, I'm supposed to be here, and I don't know why you're behaving this way, but I'm not going to let you just walk all over me and try to scare me. And also, it's the end of the world outside, so I have nowhere else to go. So this is your problem.
So how did you begin writing? You said that you're an attorney. Where did you catch the writing bug? How did you begin writing?
Yeah. So I would kind of like write on and off as a kid, but I never really finished a story. I loved reading. Reading has always just been kind of a favorite pastime of mine. I was very lucky that my mom is a huge romance reader, so I never kind of grew up in a household that was like, don't read romance. My mom was part of a monthly book club for Harlequins. I saw them constantly. So for me, reading and writing was never something that wasn't encouraged. And then I, as I was studying for the bar, this sounds ridiculous, but to give my brain a break from studying for the bar, I just found myself kind of jotting down things that just slowly ended up becoming the first book I would end up querying. And just for a long time, I would just kind of putter away, and just finally decided to put it all together and really do something with it. So it just kind of slowly started happening that I found myself really just creating characters and arcs, and just finding myself that in my free time, what I had of it, just really enjoying sitting down and just keep thinking about these characters, and coming across it's no longer around, which is very sad, but Pitch Wars, and like making a writing community Twitter back before it was bought by Elon Musk. It was really instrumental in me just like building my writing community. So I've just been really lucky of just kind of slowly, organically building up to being able to being a published author. So it wasn't one moment, but slowly just kind of realizing that, yeah, I wanted to do something with it. And then I actually talk about in the acknowledgments of my book, but one day my sister just kind of was like, you want to write a book and just kind of finish it. And that was also the kind of getting their point of going, all right, I've been doing this so much, it's time to just see it, put it out there and see what happens. I've been enjoying this.
Awesome. So this book is out when exactly?
It is out June 4th.
And are you going to be working on something else now that you have not just caught the writing bug, but gotten published?
Yeah, no, I'm lucky enough to be published. Yeah. So I have another book that I'm hoping that I will get to announce something soon, but nothing just yet. And then there is also waiting to hear on some other things. So I don't have something official I can announce yet. But I definitely have some things that I've been working on. I'm definitely hopeful to be putting more books out there featuring plus size female main characters. Hopefully I'll have something to announce soon.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Check out Barely Even Friends. Thank you so much, Mae Bennett. And yeah, we are going to close this chapter of Turn the Page.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.